everybody. Welcome to Lifehouse. My name is Ryan. If you're in the room, I want to invite you to stand and let's sing together. Sometimes on this journey, I get lost in my mistakes. What looks to me like weakness is a canvas for your strength. And my story isn't over. My story has just begun. And failure won't define me, 'cause that's what my Father does. Failure won't define me, 'cause that's what my Father does. Ooh, lay your burdens down. Ooh, here in the Father's house. Check your shame at the door, 'cause it ain't welcome anymore. The end game, the journey's where you are. You never wanted perfect, you just wanted my heart. And the story isn't over if the story isn't good. Failure's never final when the Father's in the room. I said, the failure's never final when the Father's in the room. Come home, the helpless find hope. Love is on the move when the Father's in the room. Prison doors swing wide, the dead come to life. Love is on the move when the Father's in the room. Oh, miracles take place, the city gon' find faith. Breaking through when the Father's in the room. Jericho walls are quaking, strongholds now are shaking. When love is breaking through when the Father's in the room. I said now love is breaking through when the Father's in the room. Oh, lay your burdens down. Shame at the door, 'cause it ain't welcome anymore. Oh, you're in the Father's house. Oh, come on, lay your burdens down. Oh, here in the Father's house. Check your shame at the door, 'cause it ain't welcome anymore. Yeah. Oh, Father's house.
Good morning, everybody. You can have a seat. My name is Matt, and I'm the lead pastor here at Lifehouse. And that song describes our church so well. No matter where you're coming from, no matter who you are welcome here. And if you're online, we're so glad you're joining us too. Well, this week we got some really good things coming up, at least for my crew. Thanksgiving is coming, and I was bragging that we have 27 people coming to our house for Thanksgiving. And then the people on the stage and run through were like, hey, we have 35 people or 45 people. I think Jamie said they have 150 people. I don't know. I'm like, how do you have 150 people in your family? We do have 20 people spending 2 nights at our house. So if you don't have a place to stay, you could probably just sneak in. I wouldn't even know you're there. So there's that invitation to everybody. And something else to look forward to. There's a big football game coming up next Saturday with 2 undefeated teams for the Big Ten. Now, listen, just to be fair to everybody, we're not clapping for a certain team, are we? But go Bucks. Anyway, so that's really exciting. And there's lots of cool things going on around us, but there's also amazing things happening in our church. In fact, if you're new around here, this time of the season for us is just piping hot with good things, with adults and students and kids. And we wanted to make a way that everybody, especially if you're around here a lot, can keep up with what's going on at Lifehouse. And so we relaunched our church app a couple weeks ago, and we've gotten a lot of response, how helpful it is. And if you're new, you might be interested in what goes on here, so we'd love for you to consider downloading it. And the easiest way to download it is pull your phone out, and I have to say this for people like me that are a minute older, how you do this. Pull up your phone app, point it at the QR code in front of you, and it'll take you to a link, and you can download it. And to give you an incentive, because we think this is going to be so helpful for you, in a couple weeks, we're going to do a grocery card giveaway. We're going to give $200 in a gift certificate to some person from each of our services, to which Zach on our stage said, that'll buy a half a bag of groceries these days, but it still helps, right? And the way you do that is you just go to the main page on the home screen of the app, and you just fill out a short little thing, and we'll draw a winner. We'd love to give someone a $200 gift card, because we think food's good and the app is good, so keep that in mind. But for today, we're going to be here for about an hour. We're going to sing a couple more songs, and Ryan Holliday is going to give the message, which is really good. I heard it first service, so you're in for a treat for that, and we'll get you out of here and on with the rest of your day. We're really, really glad you're here, and just want you to remind you one more time, you are welcome in this place. Let's stand and let's sing together.
There's a grace when the heart is under fire. Another way when the walls are closing in. And when I look at the space between where I used to be and this reckoning, I know I will never be alone. There was another in the fire, standing next to me. There was another in the waters, holding back the sea. Should I ever need reminding of how I've been set free? There is a cross that bears the burden, where another died for me. There is another in the fire. My dead left footed beneath the waters. I'm no longer a slave to my sin anymore. Should I fall in the space between what remained to me and this reckoning? Either way, I won't bow to the things of this world. And I know that is Jesus. He who was and still is and will be through it all. So come what may in the space between all the things unseen and this reckoning, I know I will never be alone. There'll be another in the fire standing next to me. There'll be another in the waters holding back the sea. Should I ever need reminding how good you've been to me? I'll count the joy come every battle, 'cause I know that's where you'll be. I count the joy come every battle, 'cause I know that's where you'll be. I count the joy from every battle, 'cause I know that's where you'll be.
In the darkness, we were waiting without hope, without light, till from heaven you came running. There was mercy in your eyes to fulfill the law and prophets. To a virgin came the word from a throne of endless glory to a cradle in the dirt. Praise the Father, praise the Son, praise the Spirit, three in one. God of glory, majesty, praise forever to the King of Kings. To reveal the kingdom come and to reconcile the lost,
To redeem the whole creation,
you did not despise the cross. For even in your suffering, you saw to the other side, knowing this was our salvation. Jesus, for our sake you died. Praise the Father, praise the Son, praise the Spirit, three in one. God of glory, majesty, praise forever to the King of Kings. The morning that you rose, all of heaven held its breath, till that stone was moved for good, for the Lamb had conquered death. And the dead rose from their tomb, and the angels stood in awe, with the souls of all who come to the Father are restored. And the Church of Christ was born, and the Spirit lit the flame. Now this gospel truth of old shall not kneel, shall not fade. By His blood and in His name, in His freedom
Thank you guys for singing with us. You can go ahead and take your seats.
Man, it was a joy to sing that with you, and that word praise just kind of resonated through my brain and my heart. You know, praise means to make something big, make something known, to lift something up. And we sing a song like that to our Heavenly Father because He's big and wonderful and glorious. And maybe if you even don't believe this morning, you're not sure this whole church thing's about, you're surrounded by people that acknowledge that there's a huge, wonderful God. But He's not just big and wonderful, He also gave us something. He gave us His Son. I mean, a gift that's hard to even imagine for me. He gave us His Son who died on a cross, rose from the dead to prove who He was so we could have a relationship with God and be forgiven and have eternity with God. It's an amazing thing. And so one of the values, one of the foundations of our faith is to give, to serve, to be generous. And it's such an amazing thing to be part of a church like this that has just decided over and over to be generous. We're still kind of in the afterglow of the For the Students event we did a couple Saturdays ago. We took a whole bunch of kids in need from our community shopping. One gal told us a story, an adult that took a student shopping, that this little girl at the end of the day looked up at her and just said, "I wish this day would never end." Isn't that cool? And what if the church was just known for, we want to be around people that are so good and so loving and so caring that we hope the days never end when we're around them. What a great thing to be known for as a church. And it's just a reflection of our Savior. And to keep the generosity flowing in our community, you may have noticed on your way in, we had the giving walls up as we help families with just providing a Christmas for their kids and each other. And if you're inclined to be generous again, like you're so good at doing, we'd love for you to take a card. There's instructions of what you're supposed to do. Buy the stuff you need to buy and bringing it back. And we'll make sure it gets to families that just need to know that, you know, the church cares about them and God loves them. And here's what's so cool about our church. The reason we can do all that is because there's people in this room and online that have just chosen to be consistently generous with our church week after week after week. And I'm so grateful for you. And what they're learning is generosity, managing your money, being part of a bigger mission is a really important way to live your life and follow Jesus. And if you're part of our church and you've never decided to be generous to the church that you love, I'd love for you to think about that. I mean, you pull out your phone, go to the QR code, and it'll take you to a place to give. Now, if you're new here, if you're just checking us out, you don't need to worry about that at all, but you should know. You're surrounded by literally the most generous people I've ever been around in my life. In fact, my daughter Meg yesterday on the phone said, "Dad, why do you think Lifehouse people are so generous?" And I said, because they have learned, you all have learned over the years to flex the generosity muscle, and they're just getting better at it all the time. So thank you. On behalf of our community, thank you. And this church that's doing such a great work with people, thank you, thank you, thank you. I love being your pastor.
I'm the strong one, I'm not nervous. I'm as tough as the crust of the earth is. I move mountains, I move churches, and I glow cause I know what my worth is. I don't ask how hard the work is. Got a rough, indestructible surface. Diamonds and platinum, I find them, I flatten them. I take what I'm handed, I break what's demanded. But under the surface, feel berserk as a tyrant Roman walker in a three-ring circus. Under the surface, was Hercules ever like, yo, I don't wanna fight Cerberus. Under the surface, I'm pretty sure I'm worth this if I can be of service. A flaw, a crack, a straw in a stack that breaks the camel's back. What breaks the camel's back? It's pressure like a drip, drip, drip that'll never stop. Whoa. Pressure that'll tip, tip, tip till you just go pop. Whoa. Give it to your brother's older. Give him all the heavy things we can't shoulder. Who am I if I can't run with them both? If I fall to pressure like a grip, 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 and it won't let go. Whoa. Pressure like a tick, tick, tick till it's ready to blow. Whoa. Give it to your brother's stronger. See if he can hang on a little longer. Who am I if I can't carry it? Oh, if I falter under the surface, I hide my nerves and it worsens. I worry something is gonna hurt us. Under the surface, The ship doesn't swerve as I heard how big the iceberg is under the surface. I think about my purpose. Can I somehow preserve this? Line up the dominoes, a light wind blows. You're trying to stop tumbling, but on it goes. But wait, if I could shake the crushing weight of expectations, would that free some room up for joy or relaxation or simple pleasure? Instead we measure this growing pressure. Keeps growing, keep going, 'cause all we know is pressure like a drip, drip, drip that'll never stop. Whoa, oh. Pressure that'll tip, tip, tip till you just go pop. Whoa, oh, oh. Give it to your brother, it doesn't hurt, and see if he can handle every family burden. Watch as he buckles and bends, but never breaks. No mistakes, just pressure like a grip, 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 and then it won't let go. Whoa, oh, oh. Pressure like a tick, tick, tick till it's ready to blow. Whoa, oh, oh. Give it to your brother and never wonder if the same pressure would have pulled you under. Who am I if I don't have what it takes? No cracks, no breaks, no mistakes, no pressure. Anybody feel that? You guys feel that? That surface pressure, right? It's building up inside, feeling like a drip, and it's this incessant drip in your soul, and you build and you build, and you feel like you're gonna blow. You feel that? I do. I feel that. Now, I know that's kind of a heavy way to start here, so let me pull out of that for just a second. Anybody a fan of the movie Encanto? Got any fans of the movie Encanto? Yeah, it's okay. Guys, it's okay. Raise your hands, guys. Come on. Don't be ashamed. Yeah, so this is I don't know if it's the most recent Disney movie, but Disney movie. It's really great. My kids and I, we just watched it, and that song that I just sang is a song called Surface Pressure, and it's from the movie Encanto. And side note, I found a Screamo version of that song on Spotify, so it's awesome. I love it. I can't do Screamo, but it's cool, so check it out. Anyway, that's not the point. But Surface Pressure, this song is sung in the movie by one of the sisters. It's about this family, and one of the sisters is the one that is carrying all the weight of the family. And she's holding it all in, and she's not okay inside, but she's got to fake it. She's got to put on the appearance that everything is okay. And there's this line in the song, it says, "Bend, don't break." And it happens to be the title of the series that we're in right now, Bend, Don't Break. And if you were here last week, Matt kicked us off with part 1 of Bend, Don't Break. This is part 2. And it's this idea that we can bend and we can bend and we can bend, and eventually we're gonna break, right? But the thing is, we're not created for that. We're not created to bend and bend and bend and have no peace and no rest in our lives and never take a breath, a time to figure out what's going on inside, because enough bending will eventually lead to breaking. And what's in that state for me and for you? Because maybe you feel that, I feel that. What's in it for us is a lot of surviving and not much thriving, right? A lot of surviving, not much thriving. And last week we put words around this feeling that we all feel when we're in this state of surviving, not thriving. We said we feel overwhelmed, right? We're carrying so much. We're overcommitted. We're just doing too much. We're committed to too many things. And we're overexposed, meaning we live in this digital age, man. Information is at our fingertips like never before. We are overexposed with information. We're processing so much, overwhelmed, we're overcommitted, and we're overexposed. And so what happens with that? What's the problem with that? Clearly that's a problem. But there's a hidden cost to that. And it will eventually catch up with me, and it'll catch up with you. It'll take its toll on our souls, on our minds, on our bodies. And it's this thing that I like to call soul fatigue. Soul fatigue, and it's that deep fatigue, and you feel this. And it's not like
sleeping more is going to take care of it. I mean, that might help a little, but that's not going to take care of it. More vacation or more time off doesn't necessarily cure this deep soul fatigue. We're not completing our to-do lists, but if we get that done, that's not going to fix soul fatigue, because the lists keep on going, don't they? And in that state, again, there is a lot of surviving and not much thriving. And there's also not much love, joy, or peace when we're in that state. And listen, I want to speak to everybody in the room, whether you are a Jesus follower or not, whether faith is important to you or not. We all want, this is just a human thing, we all want to be people that experience more love, joy, and peace. And we want to be people that show that to other people, right? And so what happens when we don't have love, joy, and peace? For me, if I'm being real honest, I'm impatient with my kids. I'm not loving to my wife the way I could be. I'm not present with anything I'm doing or with anybody that's around me, right? And so I ask myself, how did I get here? How did I get to this place of this deep soul fatigue? And there's a lot of reasons, but one reason that I think is kind of a subtle enemy of our soul, and a reason that we experience this soul fatigue, surviving, not thriving, bending, getting to the verge of breaking, is this word right here, distraction. Let's go to the next slide, please. This word distraction. There it is, thank you. My pro operator was distracted at that point. That was good, John. That was good. Distraction. That's what takes our attention away. It takes us away from what matters most, what's important. In the Middle Ages, there was a torture technique. You knew I was going to go there, right? In the Middle Ages, don't ask me how I learned of this information, but there's a torture technique, and they would put a prisoner in the center of a big field, and they would spread him or her out, and all four limbs, they would tie a rope to each of the four limbs. So 4 ropes, 4 limbs. To the other end of the ropes, they would tie that rope to a horse. So there were 4 horses on all 4 sides. And when they blow a trumpet, what do they do in the Middle Ages? I don't know. Somehow there was a signal, and the horses would go in all 4 different directions. And I'm going to stop there. You can use your imagination for the rest, right? But the fascinating thing about that is what they called it. They called that method of torture distraction. For real, they did. Death by distraction. And for us, we feel that, don't we? Distraction is being pulled in a number of different directions with an inability to keep it all together. How many of y'all feel that sometimes? Inability to keep it all together. And for us, we're not in the Middle Ages, so it's less gruesome, but it's potential to be just as detrimental for us, this idea of death by distraction. It is potential for all of us. Another way to think about the word distraction, maybe a little more practical and helpful, is this: that which pulls our attention away from what matters most. That which pulls our attention away from what matters most. I've heard it said, maybe you have too, that time is our most precious and valuable commodity, and there's a lot of truth to that, but I would argue that attention might be even more of a valuable resource that we have. Like time, attention is limited. We have a finite amount of attention that we can give. And like time, we get to choose ultimately what we do with it. Here's the difference. The difference between time and attention is that we can give our time somewhere, but our attention might not be there, right? I am right here in this room. We're in this room together right now. I'm giving this message, and my mind could be somewhere else. It's not, because I got to focus, but it could be somewhere else, right? Isn't that crazy? Isn't that wild? We choose to be present or to not be present because of our attention. And attention is really, really valuable, I think, because of what our attention leads to. There's this great quote I love from Mary Oliver, where she says, "Attention is the beginning of devotion." And what she's saying is where our attention goes determines what we are devoted to or what we care about or value most. And then what we're devoted to or what we care about then shapes us, right? It shapes us and to people and who might have love, joy, and peace, or might not have love, joy, and peace based on what we're devoted to. And so the question for me, question I want to ask you too, is this. When's the last time you audited your attention? When's the last time that you took a step back and took an assessment of where your attention goes? Have you ever really done that? You said, where is my attention going? What does that say about what I'm devoted to? And what does that say about who I'm becoming? What does that say about my priorities? Does it lead me to be a person of love, joy, and peace? Or does it take me away from that? And I wouldn't ask you a question that I didn't ask myself, right? And so I took an honest assessment of my attention, where it's going, and some things I thought, that's great, I'm doing well. And some things I thought, yeah, I'm not so sure. Just to be real with you, one of the things that takes my attention that I wonder about is this. This is the Immaculate Grid. It's beautiful. It's the Immaculate Grid. It's an online game. It's like Wordle. If anybody played Wordle, I don't know if that's still a thing, but it's a similar concept. Each day there's a brand new grid with 9 squares, and it starts blank. And then you've got to fill in based on, you're trying to match up players with, they played for Houston and Milwaukee, and this guy was an all-star, and you try to get all 9 squares filled, and you try to, the more rare your score, the better you do. And so, of course, I took a screenshot of my best game ever. So just saying, but the Immaculate Grid is something that I know that I put my attention towards because it's a new one every day and it's awesome. And I love it. And I've got some friends that we do the grid together and we'll text each other our scores. And the true story, one of my friends texted one time, he's like, man, my scores have been really bad lately. It's like, oh, why is that? You know? He's like, work's really gotten in the way. I was like, oh no, buddy. Like, this is not good. Like, we're gonna lose our job. Like, this is not good right now. Another thing that I know that I put my attention towards is Twitter. Twitter is still a thing, if you didn't know that. I like Twitter. It's now called X. Elon Musk bought it, and I don't know why. But that's what it's called now. It's called X. But I like to get on that, and I'll just, here's what I do. I justify that by saying, at least I'm not on Facebook. At least I'm not in the cesspool of Facebook. When the truth is, it's just as much of a cesspool. And now I've offended half the people in this room that are Facebook users. But you know, when I stop scrolling on Twitter, and I ask myself, am I a better person? Do I have more peace and love and joy in my life? The answer is almost always no. Like, what just happened? There's 15 minutes gone. Psh. You know, 30 minutes, gone, psh, gone. And is Twitter bad? No. Is the grid bad? No, it's fun. It's good things. Is Facebook bad? Maybe. I'm just kidding. But no, the problem is not with those things. Those are fine things, right? The problem is that I so easily, I'm just speaking for myself right now, I can so easily give away my attention without even thinking, right? So flippant and cheap, and my attention's gone. When that's our most valuable commodity, right? Here's another question that we can ask is, what are you distracted from that you could be devoted to? What are you distracted from that you could be devoted to? And I could have said, what are you distracted from that you should be devoted to? Because I do think we all have things in our lives that we should be devoted to. You know, family, that's a great one. We absolutely should be devoted to our families. But I have a little aversion with the word should. My goal today is not to tell you should do this, should do that. I've heard that, I tell myself that, and that can take me into a bad place mentally. And so my goal today is not to put you on a guilt trip. I'll just say that right now. It's not to put you on a guilt trip. My goal is to help us all take an honest assessment of where we're at. How are we doing with these things? Because there's an answer on the other side that can make us into the people that we want to be a little better. And there are a ton of reasons, right, why we get distracted. And we'd all have different ways that we get distracted. But I chose 3 just to hone in on that I think are pretty common to most of us. And the first one is pace of life, right? We all know what that means. It's when we're go so fast that we can't even catch our breath, and it's 9 p.m. and we just sat down on the couch for the first time, and we realize we haven't even been present the whole night, and now we're just dead asleep because we're exhausted, right? The pace of life, we go so fast. Now, some of you, you spend a lot of energy, time during your day caring for other people, right? Maybe you're taking care of a parent or your children, and those are all really good things that need to happen, right? But you might just care for that other person or people and not take any time to care for yourself. Here's this quote that from Corrie ten Boom, and she said, "If the devil can't make you sin, he'll make you busy, because either way, your soul will shrivel." I gotta say this about this. I do not believe, personally, that the devil is to blame for everything that goes wrong in our lives. I really don't believe that. I think that's part of it, but I don't think the devil made me eat a half gallon of ice cream at midnight when I should have gone to bed. Like, I chose that, right? So we have at least a partial role in some of the things in our life that maybe don't go the way we want, okay? But that said, the point still remains, right? That whether is this word sin, is a word in church, we just say things that take us away from God or things that are wrong or offend people. There's a lot of ways to say that. Whether we're sinning or we're busy, we are still having a shriveled soul because we are distracted from what it means to be human. We're disconnected from God, we're disconnected from other people, we're disconnected from our own souls. And it's like, when was the last time we took a step back to breathe? And that has an effect on our soul, right? Another reason that we get distracted is technology, common to all of us, right? Now, don't roll your eyes. I'm not gonna ask us to go out in the parking lot afterwards and I'll burn our phones together. Okay, we could do that, that might be fun, but no burn party. But let's assess. We've got this technology. What are we going to do with this? I heard the story about the Amish people, and so they, I'm generalizing a little bit, but they will, with a new technology that comes out, they'll take time and just kind of let things play out in the world and just see, is this technology helping us, or are there some hidden costs that maybe we don't see? And so we're like their lab rats. So they watch us get on our phones and do this, and they're sitting back just like, how's this gonna go? Is this good? Is this bad? And I'm not saying I agree or disagree with what they decide, but I love the idea of like assessing that. I think that is really valuable, something that we can take and say, we got this thing, let's assess. Where is this good? Where is this bad? And we know that we get distracted by tech because of things like this. This is the funniest Office meme. I love this. And I just love that part of the episode, right? And we see it on our phones and we're like, all right, what's next? Because that feels good. And so next we see something like this. This is, maybe you've seen some of these blue red pill memes. The blue pill says, get actual help and therapy, if you choose that. Or red, it is what it is. Men, this is us choosing the red pill, right? I mean, that's true, and that's a problem, and that's another message for another time probably, right? But you're like, oh, that's funny, what's next? And then I actually saw this. It says, do y'all peel your nuggets? Y'all peel your nuggets. And then the caption's cut off here, but it says, you need to be checked into a mental institution. And I saw that, I thought that was so funny, but I would probably do something like that. I can like pick my cheese off the pizza. Anyway, but that's funny. And so, and then there are cat videos and stupid human tricks, and like, it's so easy. We get distracted by technology because we choose easy over maybe what's good. We choose, we want that dopamine hit, right? That we get from looking at our phone and swiping, and it feels good. Maybe not good for us, but it feels good. And I think we all know this, but just so we have proof, does anybody want a Snickers bar? I'm serious. Does anybody want the Snickers bar? Okay, ready? It's coming out to you. Don't sue if this hits you in the head. Okay, good try. Anybody else want a Snickers bar? I got more here. Right there. There you go. I got one more. Right there. Okay, coming back on the right side there. Yes! Nice catch. Nice catch, dude. I like that. Anybody want this head of broccoli? No, you don't. Nobody wants the head of broccoli. Nobody. You want it? All right, man, enjoy. There you go, have a head of broccoli. Nobody, but except that guy and that guy, nobody wants broccoli, right? Even though broccoli, that's good for us. That's actually way better than a Snickers bar, but like it's hard to chew and like it doesn't even taste it. The Snickers bar, I mean, come on, who doesn't want the Snickers bar, right? Because we want what's easy sometimes instead of what is good, right? Think about your phone. How many times do we touch our phone? I'm in this with you. How many times do we touch our phone and swipe? What's our screen time like? Probably a lot, maybe more than we think. Netflix, even Netflix asks the question, are you still watching, right? That question pops up and the translation's like, is everything okay? Like, we've been here for 3 hours. Like, is everything okay? Do you need to go to work? Do you have other commitments that we're missing out on? Like, do the kids need fed? Like, are we still watching here? Netflix has to ask us that, and we're like, yep, we're still watching. And it's 3 more hours, right? So that's technology. But then another reason for distraction is, I say worldviews, and here's what I mean by that. And there are a lot of them, but ideas that like faster equals better. Faster equals more successful. Earn more equals more happiness. More possessions equals more happiness. Succeed, perform at all costs, at whatever costs. Maybe because people around us are doing X, Y, or Z. Maybe because I saw it on social media. Maybe because, so-and-so parents have their kids in 10 activities, so I got to keep up with them and put my kid in 10 activities. And before we know it, where is our life gone, right? And so here's a question I want to ask us. What are you distracted from that you could be devoted to? It's this question that we just asked. What are you distracted from that you could be devoted to? And I'll tell you this is what I've learned in my life. If we ignore this question, it doesn't lead us to a good place. If we ask the question and we're honest and then we ignore the answers, which is what I can do too, if we ignore what matters most, that doesn't leave us in a good place. Because you know this. Like ignoring this will cost me and it'll cost you, maybe not right now, but down the road. In fact, I'd argue it already has. So in 2010, there was a Harvard study, a couple Harvard psychologists did this study, and they found that people spend 47%, we spend 47% of our waking hours thinking about something other than where we're currently at. Isn't that crazy? I don't know how they figured this out, but I mean, it's 47, almost half of our waking time, we are spent with our brains in a different place than our rear ends, right? Like we are somewhere else. And here was their conclusion from that study. They said the ability to think about what is not happening is a cognitive achievement. So they were like, this is amazing actually. Humans are amazing that we can be physically in a place and mentally like we're thinking about something else. That actually is a pretty cool human thing. But that comes at an emotional cost. Doesn't it? And this study was done 13 years ago. It's got to be worse now, right? Like half of our waking hours or more, maybe, we're not present. This is even just a faith thing. If you're not a person of faith, if you're exploring, this transcends even faith. This, science says when we are present, when we are more mindful, we are happier, we have more peace, we have more joy, we are more loving. But half the time we're engaged with something else, right? And it's going to cost us when we're not. It's going to cost us relationally. It's going to cost us with our health. It's going to cost us spiritually. And this is true for me and true for you too. A distracted life leads to disordered priorities. We get our priorities all out of whack. A distracted life also keeps us from the beauty of the present moment. There's so much beauty right around us right now, and we miss it. And a distracted life limits our capacity for love, joy, and peace. We are attracted to what's urgent. We got fires to put out, and the urgent crowds out the important. In relationships, they get half of our best. Our faith, maybe an hour a week if we can get here or watch online. And again, what are we distracted from that we could be devoted to? What's the way forward? And I believe there is a way forward, right? That's the good news here. And there's a story from scriptures where Jesus gives us insight to this. And this is super relatable. If you haven't read the Bible or didn't grow up in church, or you're going to think I made this story up just to prove my point, and that's not the case. This is in the Bible for real, okay? And so this is from Luke. And Luke writes this story about Jesus. He said, as Jesus and his disciples were on their way, he came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to him. So Jesus was going to go, and he was going to become a guest in Martha's home. Now, Martha had a sister named Mary who was there also. And Luke went on to say, she had a sister called Mary who sat at the Lord's feet. Don't miss this part. Sat at the Lord's feet listening to what he said. But Martha was distracted by all the preparations that had to be made. So Martha was having a guest. She was doing what was expected and what was good. She was being hospitable. She was putting a meal together. That was a good thing. But we get to see two different pictures here with Mary and Martha, right? There's Mary, who was sitting at the feet of Jesus, listening, soaking it in, fully present in the moment, fully present with Jesus. And then there was Martha, who was in the kitchen prepping. And Luke uses this Greek word that's only used in this spot in the whole New Testament. It's not used any other time in the New Testament. And it's this word that we translate as distraction. And it means that there is somebody who's internally like stressed and fatigued and frustrated and agitated, and it's coming out outwardly too. And that was Martha. And this picture for me of Martha and Mary, I don't need to read about it. I've experienced this in my life. So my grandma, she's with Jesus now, went home with him a couple years ago, but she's like Martha, okay? My grandma was the most loving, and I mean this, most loving, hospitable person, wanted to serve others. She did that so well. She loved so well. But she was like Martha a little bit. And yesterday we just hosted my family Thanksgiving. So I had 35 people in my house yesterday. But it was awesome. It was so good. And it reminded me of my grandma and these Thanksgivings and Christmases. And we'd have a feast, you know. I'd put my feast up against anybody's. I know we all got our stories, but she would make a feast. And she would get up at probably 3 a.m. to get the turkey in the oven or whatever, and just was cooking, slaving away in the kitchen hour after hour after hour. I mean, all morning. And we getting out the best dishes, all this stuff, and we finally eat, and it's like, okay, she's gonna sit down. But she never sat down, and she would just walk around and say, do you need more of this? Do you need more of this? And she'd bring the stuffing around and do all that. And it's like, okay, she's gonna sit down and eat. And she never would. She'd, after the meal, then be washing dishes for 3 hours. I would never wash dishes for 3 hours, good grief. But my grandma was in the kitchen doing that. She wanted to serve and love, but a little like Martha, right? And there's a story, this is like all families have kind of a tall tale story, but this is my dad, before my parents were married, he was dating my mom, they went to my grandma's house for dinner, and she was, up serving and stuff, and he said, Shirley, her name was Shirley, sit down. My dad was soft-spoken, so it wasn't like he wasn't being a jerk. He said, sit down. And you don't tell Shirley to sit down. You do not tell her to sit down. That was the last time they thought she was gonna slap him. That was the last time anybody ever tried to tell Shirley to sit down. She just loved so well, wanted to serve. And I even see this in my own life. Like, we'll have people over and I'll grill hamburgers, and I'll be grilling like 60 burgers on the grill, and I'm just like flipping them, and there's grease flying everywhere, and animal pieces, and I'm like, my son Wes, like, Wes, we got a fire, go get water, and he'd bring me a water, and it's just like crazy, and people are coming, and I can't even say hi, I can't even talk, because I'm just like, flipping stuff, and then finally the burgers are done, they taste real good, I think, but then I just need a nap. I'm exhausted because I've grinded my hands to the bone on the grill. I need a nap or a cold beer, one of the two. Either would probably suffice in the moment. But I get that. I feel that, right? And back to our story here. So this is Mary and Martha. Martha's agitated, right? She is frustrated because she's in the kitchen while Mary's just chilling out with Jesus. Martha's like, Mary, the food's not gonna prep itself. She's probably banging pots and pans in the kitchen just to make a point. You ever do that? Don't do that with a spouse. I've tried that. It's not good. But then Martha does what, like my kids do, our kids do Martha decides, I'm going to tell on Mary. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell on her. I'm going to tell Jesus on Mary. And so she does that. Martha came to him and asked Jesus, Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do the work by myself? Don't you care, Jesus? Tell her to help me. That's what she says. She's like, the pitas are burned. The shawarmas are not ready. The falafel's messed up. Whatever they eat in Mediterranean. I don't know. But she's like, help me. And Jesus says to Martha, he says, Martha, Martha. I love how he says that twice. So I feel compassion in Jesus' response to Martha. Martha, Martha, the Lord answered, you are worried and upset about many things, but few things are needed, or indeed, only one. And Jesus said, Martha, you're making a 10-course meal, right? We only need 5. 5's fine. You're bringing out the best dishes, like just use paper plates. You don't have to wash them afterwards, right? Or even like 2 courses is fine. In fact, just Martha, order some pizzas and call it a day, right? Parents, don't we have to do that sometimes? It's like that meal ain't cooking itself. Let's just order some pizzas and call it a day, right? But I love what Jesus says next. Jesus says, Mary has chosen what is better. Mary's chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her. So Mary was present, Martha was distracted. Mary had love, joy, and peace. Martha was stressed and frustrated. And Jesus, he didn't condemn Martha. He didn't say, Martha, you're wrong. You should be present, right? He doesn't say that. He uses a comparison to make his point. He says, Martha, you're doing something really good, right? But there's something better. Mary chose something better. And sometimes a lot of things that we're distracted by are good things, right? But there are better things. Chips and salsa, a good thing. Chips and queso with the chorizo mixed in. You ever have that at the Mexican restaurant? That's better, right? That's better. But distractions, they aren't always bad. Sometimes good, but they can distract us from what is better or what matters most. And this is the distraction dilemma, as I like to call this, that we find ourselves in, where even a good thing can distract you from a better thing. And so work is a good thing. We need to work. You need to do your job. You need to show up and do things well, right? That's a good thing. We're busy with that, distracted with that. Technology is a really good thing. It is. It keeps us connected and we're more productive. There's all these good things about technology. Being busy is a good thing. And you wouldn't want to decide, I'm just done being busy. I'm not. And then the kids are like, Dad, Mom, we haven't eaten for a week. Well, son, Mom and Dad don't want to be busy anymore. Fend for yourself. No, we don't, right? We are busy with good things. But my capacity to be a person of love, joy, and peace, just like Mary's capacity to be a person of love, joy, and peace, it's affected when we do or not do certain things, right? I find I'm more stressed, I'm exhausted when I don't have love, joy, and peace, when I'm not present. I'm short with other people. I snap at other people. I can do that. I can go time without thinking about God, without even acknowledging that He is with me and present. And as Jesus followers, let me just talk to you. If you would say, I'm a Jesus follower, one of the most spiritual things that we can do is audit our attention. Find out where our attention's going, what distractions are in the way, and what are we devoted to. Because the truth is, what I found in my life, and what God would say is true love, true joy, true peace that we all want, can be found with Jesus. And Jesus can be found in the present moment. Not necessarily in the past, not necessarily in the future, but right now in the present. And I believe love, joy, and peace is possible. We've got to do something about it, okay? We've got to change. This book, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, is, if you guys were here last week or saw the message, Matt referenced this book, and this has been the most impactful book. I read it a few years ago for the first time. Most impactful book in my life outside of the Bible and maybe Good Night Moon as well. just being honest with you. Okay, but this has been one of the most impactful books. And I would highly recommend, if some of this is resonating with you, and especially if you like to read, pick this book up. Do yourself a favor and see where that journey takes you, okay? But I can just tell you, my dial moved. When I read this, my capacity to be a person of love, joy, and peace, it improved. I'm not there, trust me. I got a long way to go, but it improved. And one of the things that I tried to start making some changes, and I did this about a year and a half ago. I'm a runner. I love to run, and I have always listened to music when I ran. Okay, I'd put headphones on, listen to music, because I love music too. This is what I decided. I'm not telling you if you run, you don't have to do this, right? This is just what I decided I needed to do, because I know that I used music as a distraction, right? I wanted to put my earbuds in and just go and be distracted. But I realized I wasn't being very present. I did. I wanted to train myself, my mind, to be a little more present and okay with like where I was at in my brain and my body. And so I stopped using headphones. I do it occasionally, but it's been really, really good. And so yesterday morning, I went for a run at the reservoir. I mean, you can't make this up. So I know I'm thinking about this message about distraction and being present. And I'm running at the reservoir. It was a beautiful morning yesterday. The sun was shining. And I was on the back side of the reservoir and along, I think, the east path. There's this big tree line with a bunch of pine trees and some other big trees. Okay, I was back there running. And I heard this, caw, caw. And my first thought, I thought of the Birds, the movie. You know, the old movie where the birds, the horror movie where the birds invade and they peck your eyeballs out. And I was like, they came to Van Wert and it's over. I'm done, you know. But it wasn't, I'm here. But I looked up to where the sound was coming from. And at the top of the tallest tree, not kidding, there were two bald eagles sitting right there. And it was amazing. It was beautiful. And the sun was shining there. And I thought, if I would have had my headphones on, I would have missed that, right? Like I actually did want to just stop and be like, I'm proud to be an American. Like I was like, tears, man, chills. It was awesome. But I would have missed it if I would have had my headphones in. I would have been doing something good, listening to music and running, but I would have missed something better. Two bald eagles in Van Wert at the reservoir, are you kidding me? That was awesome. And that's just a small example of how I've tried to become a person of love, joy, and peace just by being more present. And so real quick, I want to go back to our reasons for distraction. Okay, we said these are some common ones: pace of life, technology, and worldviews. And I told you, and I could tell you more ways I'm getting it wrong. All right, but here's some things that I want to just kind of humbly submit to you as things I'm trying to get this right. And these are pretty specific, and this may apply to you, these may not, but I still want to give a couple to you. The first is with pace of life. Here's what I've tried to do is say no. Let's all say that together. Say no. No. Say no. No. That's a little freaky, but I'm trying to say no a little more. My wife and I have made some hard decisions about parenting and our kids' activities. We've said no to some good things in order to hopefully have some better things. Now, I will say, when we say no to things, we got to do it responsibly, right? Like, we all know that. If we have commitments, we got to keep our commitments. You know, we've got to think about how our no will affect others. But if we can plan in advance and decide to eliminate some things, say no to some really good things for something better, we might like where we end up. And we've experienced that. We've got a little more margin, a little more time together, and that's been a really good thing. So with technology, turn your phone off. There's a novel concept on your phone. There's a button, and it's a power button, and if you hold it down, it turns off, right? It'll be okay, I promise you. Promise you it'll be okay. Don't at me if you miss a call from your mom because Ryan said to turn your phone off, then she's mad at you. Don't just, all right. But what I've tried to do is have protected times where I do turn my phone off. All right, so for me, it's at dinner time. We try to eat dinner as a family most nights. And so I will literally power my phone off, put it in a drawer, gone. Because I know if it's out, I might be distracted by it. I'll miss what we're doing as a family. I also turn it off at night, same thing, power it off, put it in the drawer, see ya. I don't need it on. Turn your notifications off, again, don't miss a call from your mom, but if you miss a notification that says, so-and-so liked your picture, like, who cares? It's fine, like you'll get it later when you turn it on, right? Now, let me speak to those of us, those young people in the room, such as myself, who's still in his 30s for another month, and then I'll be 40. I'm almost finished with level 4, going to the next level. But you think about technology, and we think, oh, it's an issue for teens and for those in their 20s and 30s, right? It's like that's the problem, and it is true. Like we, as 30s, 20s, teens, we can do better. We can do a lot better. But if you're in your 50s and 60s, like we see you on your iPads, okay? We see you with your iPads and what happens. And we know that this technology, it's not just a young person thing, it's not just an old person thing, it's an all of us thing. That we have to figure this out and wrestle it to the ground. We're all in this together, okay? And the last thing with the worldview is be content. Be content. Faster is not always better. More is not always better. And this is something I'm trying to learn and live. It's to be content in all things. So these are pretty specific. Let me zoom out for a second. I want to give you, just to wrap up, 3 questions that we can ask ourselves to help us eliminate distractions, because that's what we all want. We all want to eliminate distractions. So here are 3 questions, and you might just take one of these, because I know how it is. Look, I've gone to church a long time in my life, and I can walk out, and 2 minutes later, I kind of forget everything that just happened. I get it, okay? So maybe just pick one that you want to hang on to and actually think about and actually discuss, okay? First question is this: to eliminate distractions. How do you start your day? Is it on your phone? Is it in your inbox? I do that sometimes. Before we even open our eyes, it's like, that's setting us up, setting the tone for the rest of the day. My wife likes to walk in the mornings. I got to get outside and spend some time journaling and be in the quiet and just have I just need some time. I don't always do it, and then when I don't, I feel it. But there's a song that I love that's kind of near and dear to my heart that I think about from time to time in the morning. I sing it at night to my kids sometimes. And it's just an old song. It's called Be Thou My Vision. It's an old hymn. It's an Irish tune. And the song I love because it's a surrender. It's a prayer. It's a way to start my day. And it goes like this. Be thou my vision, O Lord of my heart. Not be all else to me, save that thou art. Thou my best thought, by day or by night. Waking or sleeping, thy presence my light. And I especially love the line in there that says, my best thought by day or by night. God is our best thought by day or by night. And if we can think about him and get our minds wrapped around him, it's going to be better for us in our life. And so that's how we start our day. Second question is this: what can only you do? Here's none of us are irreplaceable in our jobs. I am not irreplaceable doing what I do. Somebody else could do this. You probably aren't irreplaceable in your job. We probably aren't irreplaceable in the committees we're on. Other people can step in and do that. Where we are replaceable is in relationships, right? With our families. Only you can be dad. Only you can be mom. Only you can be a brother or sister or a friend. We're not irreplaceable there. And so if we define our priorities and plan date nights with our spouse and give our kids, put our dang phones away and just, be with our kids if we're going to be with our kids, we're going to turn into people of love, joy, and peace. And the last question is this: where can you choose better? Where can you choose better? Or a better way to say it is maybe who needs you to choose better in your life? Who needs that from you? This is personal for me. I've asked this question, still working on it. But a couple things I've done is I've started some medication that for some things that will make me healthier physically and mentally. I didn't want to do that, but I did that not just for me, but for the other people in my life, and that's been a really good thing. I also stepped away from a couple of things, some areas I was putting my time that were really good things, but it just didn't add up. I could choose better for me and for the people around me. So again, I'm going to repeat these questions. Pick one. How do you start your day? What can only you do? And where can you choose better? If you can start answering one of these, Your life is going to be better. Your relationships will start to be better. Your faith will start to grow. And we're going to wrap up with this. Back to this question. What are you distracted from that you could be devoted to? If we don't answer that question, the cost is high to us. If we ignore the question, the cost is high. It's going to take us wrestling it to the ground, being honest, and doing something. And we'll be better for it. Our relationships will be better for it. Our faith will be better for it. Let me pray for you guys. Dear Lord, thank you for who you are and for what you've done for us. Jesus, thank you that you have taught us to be in the present moment and that we can find you in the present. Thanks for your love that is available to us, that you just you shower on us all the time. And help us to be people of love, joy, and peace because of what you are doing, what you've done for us, and what you're doing through us. So thank you, Lord, for who you are. It's in your name we pray. Amen. Thank you guys for being here today. We will see you next week for part 3 of Bend, Don't Break.